Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Rocco, joined by Adam Eaton. Welcome into Sons of UCF Live. Adam, now, when we booked the show on a Thursday in April, I didn't think we'd be competing against UCF men's basketball in something called the Crown. But here we go. Knights leading 76-70 as they approach the 3-minute mark. How are you?
Hey, Trace, I'm doing well. Good to have you back. I know you had some time with the family last week. Hope that was well. A lot going on Night Nation. As you mentioned, we have the Crown on. We'll keep you updated as you're watching along with us. We'll do the same for you as well. But obviously, we have football talk. A lot of talk. Big day, Trace. You were out there at UCF. Big day. Quarterback day at UCF football practice. So I'm sure we'll get into that. Some great guests today. So sit tight, everybody. Get comfortable. Watch the game. Watch us. Grab a drink. Put your feet up. We'll have a good hour-ish of UCF stuff here.
Yeah, Mr. Matt Dolan reminds us 21 weeks until the start of the 2025 UCF football season. Fifth quarter UCF, 147 days. And we will be watching the Knights in the bounce house. You mentioned it, with the Knights now leading 79-70, 2 minutes plus to go in this one. They may be moving on to the semifinals, but we know UCF's defense, so anything is possible. My favorite day so far are spring camp. Mackenzie Milton, quarterback coach at the mic, as well as 4 quarterbacks. And, you know, we didn't get to talk to players as much as we have so far this spring camp. I found it refreshing. It's good to get to know the guys. And I'll tell you what happened for me today, and it's happened throughout spring camp. I'm rooting for these guys. I'm embracing them. I'm getting to know them. And I like these quarterbacks.
Look, I'm not going to take credit for all this, but allow me to take credit for this. I wrote a column a few months ago saying that UCF needs to find a way to engage the fan base. And this is exactly what I had in mind. I didn't dream all this up, so I'm not taking credit for that. But to your point, this is exactly what I had in mind. You get a chance to hear some of these guys. You know what? Something I realized as I watched these today, Trace, we never really heard from Ja'Curry Brown last season. I don't know that he did a presser. I don't think he had a ton of media. And today, I mean, I had loved hearing from Ja'Curry Brown, hearing his thought process. And we didn't get to hear that last year. And this has been fantastic. Not just what we're doing interview-wise, mic'd up series with Mackenzie Milton, with Mike Dawson, with Sean Beckton, some behind-the-scenes stuff. Again, I talked about forming more of a connective tissue with this fan base. Whether they heard me or not, whether this was always in the plans or not, they have hit a home run with what they've done this offseason, trying to get folks engaged, entertained, and get to know these players, Trace. It's been a lot of fun. I really encoured last week. I know you weren't on. I loved hearing from the 2 wide receivers.
I couldn't really tell you this last week. You weren't here.
Comma. The receivers we heard from, DJ Black, specifically was great. Dwayne Thomas Jr. was fantastic. This has been a really cool, fun little spring football camp. It's almost so much that you're forgetting there's actual football being played behind the scenes after they close the doors of the fence. But I think UCF's hit a home run with what they've done from a social strategy and from an engagement strategy this offseason.
You know, Sons have had this covered with our army of interns. Matt Turman has been taking photos. He's trying his hand at video. I asked him to put together a compilation of videos. Now, I think you're out there on Saturday. We got to talk about tripod for Matthew or something. A little shaky, but let's show some of the video clips. We're getting to see the quarterbacks more. Open availability for 30 minutes this Thursday, which means plenty of time to see Dylan Risk, who played in several games last season. Ja'Curry Brown, you mentioned him, and the newcomers, Taven Jackson and Cam Fancher. We got a question in the mailbag about how Cam may be one of your favorites, but seeing some, connections with the new crop of wide receivers, and it's enjoyable to watch UCF football here in the 8th practice of spring camp.
Yeah, look, it's just always fun to have football to watch, Trace, right? Like we're all sickos for football. So it's fun to see, some football being played. And yeah, look, a lot of these are routes on air, right? They're scripted passes. And so it's hard to really understand specifically what it is you should think of these things and mean. That wasn't a great throw, but it's good to see, some of this live action, some of the quarterbacks that are out there. I think it was great to hear from them today as well. And look, I don't know who's going to win this race, Trace. I don't think anyone really has a grasp on exactly who's going to win this race. I'm sure there's some front runners. I'm sure some people have heard some stuff, but I feel like this is as wide open as we've seen. And yeah, you may hear so-and-so had great and so-and-so did this, but I think this thing's going to be wide open for a while. But it's easy to start rooting for these guys. And again, I don't know what to make of these throws on air with nobody covering anybody, but it's just good to see UCF quarterbacks back on the football again.
I don't know if you had opportunity to listen to all of the interviews today, extended time with Mackenzie Milton and the quarterbacks. It does seem wide open. And, We talked about who was likely to enter the portal when it opened, and maybe I bought into the hype a little bit over the course of Thursday inside the field house, but I'm thinking maybe no one, maybe they all battle. And I do think we see multiple quarterbacks this fall, though, no matter who gets the lead job.
It's so hard to predict, Trey. I mean, someone's going to hear some news that they don't want to hear, right? And it's how they react to that news. Someone's gonna hear, hey, we feel like A and B maybe are head and shoulders or a little bit above you. Someone's going to hear some news they don't want to hear, and you have to do the balancing act that all the players are doing now, which is, do I want to go fight for a job elsewhere? Do I want to get involved with other things, or do I want to stick it out here and be a part of this team and be a part of the brotherhood that I've been a part of? I thought the funniest part of the interview was Mackenzie said, "I think these guys are just starting to become friends.
Yeah.
I think they're close to being friends," right? Which you kind of hope that camaraderie takes hold, but. Look, it's 2025. It's very possible that one of these guys says, hey, I'm not hearing the news I want to hear. Maybe it's time for me to look elsewhere. But it seemed as though, this was a close group. And Mackenzie said, I think I counted no fewer than 4 times how much he loves his quarterback room. Mm-hmm. So maybe that love, maybe that attention, maybe that bond will keep these guys all together through fall camp.
Knights hit a pair of free throws, lead 81-75, approaching 1 minute to go. We have a compilation of sound from Thursday media availability, including Mackenzie Milton and the quarterbacks. Let's listen to that. How is your relationship built with Steve Cooper over camp?
Yeah, I mean, really over the last couple months, just soaking in the knowledge that he has of really just football as a whole. He's one of the smartest guys I've been around, just from building our offense to opening my eyes to kind of a new world and some things that we're doing. And, he's second to none in my opinion, just in terms of football minds. And, he's been a quarterback guy too, so it helps having him, Coach Frost, and myself just kind of put our minds together and figure out how we want to do this thing.
There we go. Mackenzie Milton. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting, Trey. I think if it were any other quarterback coach, I wonder how Knight fans would feel about where we are, right? But because it's Mackenzie Milton and he's got the ultimate favor of this fan base, I think people have a faith and a confidence in him that he's gonna whip this quarterback room to shape. If it was any other quarterback coach, if it was John Smith was quarterback coach, I don't know if Knight fans would feel as confident as maybe they do in the quarterbacks, or feel as good about what could be if the quarterback's coach name wasn't Mackenzie Milton.
Do we have sound as well from the 4 quarterbacks from today?
I'll play them all in order. This is in no particular order. I don't know who the starter is.
We've made no decisions.
I have no decisions on this. I'm just playing them in whatever random order I have.
What do you like most about this offense?
The freedom and the just the understanding of how it goes as a quarterback go. I mean, all of us in that room as quarterbacks, we want to be leaders and we want to have the ball in our hands when the game's on the line. And so with this offense, we go as the quarterback goes, and that's really that helped me for sure.
How have you improved since we last saw you play?
I think I've improved in the terms of understanding the game more. Situational. We talk about being situational masters here, so that's one thing I really want to improve myself on. It's what do we want when we're 2nd and 10? What do we want when we're 3rd and 3? So that's something they've really, really emphasized with us, and really happy they're emphasizing that because I need to learn that.
What about this offense works with your skill set?
Yeah, I think this offense is it's wide open for a skill set like mine. I compare myself to Jordan Love and Patrick Mahomes. I know that they're NFL guys and they're really talented, but I bring some of that the same kind of traits as they do. When the pocket breaks down, use your feet to create plays. And
how does this offense fit your skill set?
I feel like the way that not only attacking defenses through the air, but also adding the quarterback run play into that, adding another hat into the box where, they have to account for me as a runner. But not only depending on that, but also, just being explosive downfield and, creating explosive plays, that's what I feel like plays into my skill set.
Well, we'll see who emerges with this job. I don't think we're going to learn out of spring camp. Knights men's basketball leading 83-78, 42 seconds left to go in the game. CBS Sports is saying over-under of maybe 6.5, which would be, of course, an improvement over the 4-win campaign a season ago. Let us talk to the man who wrote that article for CBS Sports, national college football writer, Shehan Jeyarajah, who joins us now on Sons of UCF Live. Welcome in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good to talk with you as men's basketball tries to close this out in the Crown. I'm surprised we could drag you away from watching the end of the Crown. 6.5, you say, Scott Frost new, but a lot of new faces for UCF, and maybe not the experience to match up in a competitive Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you look at UCF right now, I think you can even point to some of what happened last season, right? A lot of turnover, a lot of new faces, and this is a league that is really competitive. I mean, you look at all 16 teams, and actually, if you look at the FanDuel over-unders for this entire league, everybody is between 5.5 and 8.5, which means that every single team in the league at least thinks they're going to be right there on the doorstep of making a bowl game. When I look at UCF, the biggest thing to me relative to some of the other teams in this league is I just don't necessarily know what they hang their hat on heading into the year, right? This is a team that is turning over so much of its roster, both on offense and defense. Of course, they lose RJ Harvey, they lose some of these known commodities that they've had. And so from my perspective, I lean towards the under for them. They're a very talented team. There's no doubt about it. But I just think that when you compare them to the other 15 teams in the conference, they're going to be one that's probably a little further away.
My favorite part of your article, though, was your full disclosure that maybe your over-under predictions from a year ago didn't turn out so well, which just goes to show you the competitiveness of that. Go back. Why did everybody get Arizona State wrong?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that there are two aspects maybe that I point to more than any other. One, my big question for them coming into the year was just how good was that offensive line going to be? It was really a bad unit in 2023. And, they managed to bring some of those guys back. They brought in some other transfers, developed as well. But it came along, I think, in a bigger way than anybody expected. Some of that has to do, I think, with the introduction of quarterback Sam Leavitt coming over from Michigan State. But it just happened a lot quicker, I think, than people realize. The other thing, too, and like when you try to think like, hey, how could I have gone back and maybe known a little bit better? Well, this was a team that I think that when you look at their overall quality, it was a little higher than a 3-9 the season before that. They just dealt with so many injuries. Obviously, the quarterback situation was a disaster. 2 or 3 guys going out with injuries. At one point, they were playing Cam Scadaboot at quarterback in 2023. And so, I think that you look back and you're like, well, maybe I just didn't get a good feel of how talented this team actually was. I had little doubt that Kenny Dillingham was eventually going to be a successful coach at Arizona State, but it did happen quicker than I thought.
Let me take you back to last year, Shehan. I know you've covered football for a long time. When late December, you saw the tweet, Gus Malzahn leaves for Florida State offensive coordinator. Did you have to refresh like I did to make sure that wasn't some sort of like a NBA Centel tweet? Or did you believe that when you saw Gus Malzahn was going to Florida State as OC?
Well, I wasn't surprised that Gus wasn't back. But certainly the way it happened, the timing of it, and the fact that he left voluntarily for that role, it was a little odd to me. I mean, because I think that at the time I was thinking, okay, if you wait just a little bit, like there's a chance that Gus may have reached a mutual separation. And I do think that in a lot of ways, that is what happened. But, the more that you sit back and think about it, I mean, the more that it kind of made sense, I think, for both sides. Obviously, I think, it was the first losing season at UCF or first missed bowl game, rather, in a very long time. You look at Florida State, they needed somebody who had some head coaching experience to come in and really give Mike Norvell just a little bit more credibility, a little bit of new idea in the room. So it's something that when I thought about it made a little more sense, but certainly you don't think that you're ever going to see a sitting major college head coach leave for an offensive coordinator job. But if you dig under the surface, I think obviously it made a little bit more sense.
All right. Well, I'll give you Gus Malzahn to Florida State, and I'll trump that with Scott Frost a week later is announced as UCF's head football coach. That obviously it's a dream for 2016 all over again. Your thoughts when you thought you had it all with Malzahn leaving, all of a sudden Scott Frost is now the head coach again at UCF.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and to be honest, I'm fascinated to see how it works out because when I looked at UCF and when this job opened, I mean, this was one of the most interesting jobs on the entire job market, right? Like, I think that there's so much upside with UCF right now. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys, right? But the young alumni base, the amount of money and investment coming in from the city of Orlando, the location for recruiting, like, I expected them to go after some heavy hitters. And I think that it was really interesting when they did decide to bring back Scott Frost, kind of unheralded. There really wasn't any rumor, at least nationally, of him potentially being under consideration. Now, the thing is, right, like, he has done it here. He has won here. We know that he can coach, especially at this place in this city. Like, we know that. But it's been a few years since he's been a college football coach. It was 2022, I believe, or 23, midway through the season when he was let go at Nebraska. He spent the 2024 season away from college football. So it was a little bit of a surprise for me to see him jump right in and get a head coaching job again. Now, again, look, it's a risk that's probably worth taking. You kind of look around college football right now. There's a little bit of turning back the clock with some success. I mean, you even look at again, you look at some of these other places. West Virginia, of course, goes back to Rich Rodriguez, similar sort of deal. I think that Greg Schiano, the success that he's having at Rutgers, is probably a huge driver. People saying maybe it can work. And this is, I mean, it's crazy to say because he went 13-0. This is a better job than it was whenever Scott Frost was coaching there. So I'm excited to see what he can do with it. But again, like, it's really hard to get a feel of how ready he is for this moment just because we haven't seen him in a year and a half.
I'm curious to touch on something that you mentioned. You obviously you travel the country, you travel Big 12 territory a lot. How attractive was this job? How attractive do you think this job was for other sitting P4 coaches, other coaches? How, obviously in Orlando, we're kind of in our bubble, but nationally, how attractive do you think this job actually was for some of the coaches out there?
No, I think it definitely was attractive. You look at, again, when I look at some of the programs that I think have upside that really haven't been tapped into, I think that some of these city programs in non-NFL markets, like, that's a niche, right? Like, that's a niche where I think that you can have some success. Obviously, we see it, with Big Ten schools, et cetera. I mean, I'm down here in the state of Texas. Like, UTSA has leveraged in a big way. They are competitive every single year in the AAC because of what they are, right? So I think that from that perspective, there's a lot. Of course, it's in the state of Florida. There's access to recruiting terrain. It's kind of like an interesting job too, because when you kind of put it up there, right, like on the map, especially in the state of Florida, again, there are guys that Florida and Florida State are going to go after, but like, there really isn't sort of like a 1B tier school necessarily in the state of Florida. You're kind of going for a type of recruit and a type of player that like isn't really being hit the same way. There's kind of a big gap between Florida and FAU, South Florida, et cetera, right? And so I think there's a great niche whenever you're talking about recruiting, especially. And then you talk about the bounce backs, right? Again, I'm here in the city of Dallas. Like, SMU has killed it with bounce backs. I think that they did a really smart thing with Gus Malzahn, getting someone with SEC ties who got some of these SEC bounce backs, right? So I think that people thought very highly of this job. And again, I was curious if they were going to try to make a nominal swing, right? Like, try to bring in, a sitting P4 coach, bring in a coach with SEC, something like that, right? I was curious if they were going to try to do that. Obviously, they went in a different direction, and I think that there's a lot of validity to the direction that they went as well. And sometimes the swings aren't really worth the swing, right? I mean, even Gus Malzahn was kind of that coach when he came there, and it was all right? That, like, there were pros and cons. So I do think that, though, this is a really good job and one that a lot of people across the industry are keeping a close eye on.
Over under at 6.5 wins for the UCF football Knights, with wins mentioned, 5 of them home games: Jacksonville State, North Carolina A&T, West Virginia, Houston, Oklahoma State. A loss, though, at home to North Carolina and Bill Belichick. We've talked Gus Malzahn, we've talked Scott Frost. Bill Belichick in North Carolina. That's another one you might not have seen coming.
That one's the real shock. I did not think that he was going to do that. I remember when the rumors started coming out, and for us on the national side, we're always trying to be prepared for everything. We're trying to have a plan, a content plan for everything. And they started being like, okay, well, what could we do if Belichick took the North Carolina job? And I'm like, guys, can we not waste our time here? Like, can we not do this right now? And then of course it happens. I mean, look, it brings a lot of attention to college football. I think that to an extent, right? Like, you see the power, and obviously very different coaches, but you see the power, for example, at Colorado, of the celebrity coach, And I think that that is part of this, right? Is you see the interest, you see the investment. I mean, Hard Knocks was thinking about coming to the University of North Carolina. That's an NFL program, right? So like from that perspective, I mean, I think that they've already started to see some wins. Now, look, when Bill Belichick finished up in the NFL, one of the biggest criticisms of him, well, actually two. One, he was no longer as good at identifying talent as he used to be. And two, he couldn't relate to the type of players who were coming through now. Now he's got to do it with
at the
18
college
and 19
level.
year olds. Yeah, so it's going to be fascinating to see how it works. I'm curious how it goes, but definitely a shock. That's up there with some of the biggest shocks that I've ever had doing this job.
Another loss that you have for the Knights that I think a lot of UCF fans would agree with at Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas. CBS Sports, you bullish on Red Raider Nation?
Yeah, they have put so much into this 2025 season. And I think that it's funny, right? Like, I think that Texas Tech has flown under the radar a little bit, the success that they've had the past couple of years. This is actually the first time that they've had 3 winning Big 12 campaigns since the Southwest Conference. They've never done it as a Big 12 team. Even Mike Leach didn't do it. Now, very, very, in some ways a different Big 12 in the 2000s, certainly, but still 3 straight winning Big 12 campaigns. But they're putting a lot into the 2025 season to kind of be their magnum opus. They have a senior quarterback coming back, Baron Morton. They brought in the number 3 transfer class in the nation. Obviously, nobody else in the Big 12 is anywhere near the top 10. And they especially prioritize the trenches. They brought in the number 12 overall transfer, Howard Sampson, the offensive tackle from North Carolina. 4 players overall are either offensive or defensive linemen, all in the top 50 of overall transfers. So they view this as their moment in a lot of ways. Now, because of the relative lack of success that they've had in the past, 10, 15 years, like, I think that for them, they want to just be there at the end of the year. They want to be in the conversation to get to 10 wins. They want to be in the conversation to make a Big 12 championship game. But they have the roster to do it, and they have the schedule to do it as well. So I expect big things from Texas Tech this year.
Obviously, first year without Texas, Oklahoma in the Big 12, Shehan. How do you think the Big 12 comported itself in year 1 sans Oklahoma, Texas?
Well, I think what was great about it is that it was a really competitive conference. That's what everybody was hoping to see. You wanted to see 16 teams that are functioning at a high level, invested in football, expecting to win, able to pull upsets almost any week. And I think that you look top to bottom. I mean, even teams like Oklahoma State and Houston that struggled, like, they were teams that still nearly pulled upsets almost every single week. So from that perspective, I think it was great. And for most of the season, there were 3 or so teams that were in that college football playoff discussion. Now, I will say, I think that you do, to some extent, need some teams to separate themselves into the month of November. I don't think that you can live with your best teams being teams that are fighting for the 12 through 18 spots. You need at least 1 or 2 teams to be pushing for the top 10. But I see those programs kind of coming together. I see, I think BYU is one of the most underrated programs right now in the country. They, to me, should have been closer to the college football playoff discussion after they went on the road and beat SMU in week 2, right? So I think you look around this league, it's stacked with great players, it's stacked with great coaches, it's stacked with programs that are investing at a high level. The thing for the league now is, can you elevate your best teams to where there are more that stick around and stay in the conversation? And by the way, heading into 2025, like, Arizona State is going to need to be the face of that.
Well, first off, kudos to you for doing a game-by-game prediction in March before even the next portal.
Content.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic content strategy. But what's your process? So do you literally go game by game? Do you go team by team? Like, take us behind the curtain of how you kind of sat down and went about this project.
No, it's a great question. So I do put up a spreadsheet and have all the games kind of laid out in front of me. It used to be easier when this league was 10 teams. Now we're at 16, way more games to pick than I used to have to pick. And so what I do first is I go through and I kind of pick the no-brainers, right? Like, I say, hey, you know what? Like, Houston's going to Arizona State or whatever, right? And that team is just probably better than that team. Make all those picks first. Leave a couple of blanks for games that I think maybe could be swing games. And then I really go and think about matchups, home versus away. Like, that is a huge deal in college football. So I really kind of try to weigh that. I try to think about, and again, so maybe I'll be sitting here and I'll have 7 wins selected for Kansas State and 8 for another team. And there's some like sort of finagling to be like, well, I kind of see Kansas State as a 9-win team or whatever it is. Right. But it's something that I put a lot of effort into and a lot of process into. And it's a lot of fun and it gets people talking. And I'll tell you what, 2 years ago, I picked West Virginia to finish last place in the league. And people let me hear about it whenever I was completely wrong about that. And so it's a lot of fun to go back and look at even a couple months from now.
Final four now. Houston still representing the Big 12. Who you got?
Yeah, I got Duke. They were my pick coming in. I just think that they are the most complete team in the country. They are functioning at just an unbelievable level right now. And I know the question for some with Cooper Flagg coming into the year was like, does he have that scoring instinct to be a big time scorer, especially on the NBA level? And I think he does, but like you just see all of these other skills that he has, right? His rebounding, his defense, his playmaking, his driving ability. Like he is just a monster right now. I think though that the thing that makes them so tough is also their interior defense between Kaman Maluak and Cooper Flagg. They just take away the basket, and it's just so tough for anybody to match up with a team like that. So it's going to be a great Final Four. This is in terms of like KenPom ratings, this is one of the best that we've ever seen, but I still have Duke ultimately making it through and winning.
Shehan, you're always a good read. You're also good on shows like this, and we thank you for being with us on Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, talk to you again soon. All right, 6.5. How we feeling, Adam?
It's probably a fair number, right? Like, yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
You take
of
it, right? You
team.
take the
like,
6
yeah,
or the
probably
7.
A fair number right now with considering everything we don't know yet about this team. Like, I don't think you can be mad at that number. And if you want to hammer the over and make some money in Vegas, go for it.
Speaking of Vegas, segue there. Men's
you.
Basketball closes out Cincinnati 88-80, advanced to the semifinals of the Crown, just as we all predicted. Watching it all season long, the men's basketball, their ups, their downs. Our Andrew Jeyarajah, who joins us now live from UCF to talk a little bit. Whoa, didn't get the memo.
Easy here.
A little
Easy,
dress
player.
up here.
What are we doing here?
Whoa.
Was that an award?
Congratulations.
Are you trying to one-up Ben Hazel? What are we doing here? I don't like this. It makes me uncomfortable.
That's not a bow tie. No bow tie.
No bow tie.
First, explain where you are and why you're an award winner and all that good stuff off the top.
Yeah, so excuse me if my Wi-Fi is a bit terrible. I'm currently at UCF lecture hall. I just got out from a Greek Gala award dinner. I guess I'll show it off here. I won Innovator.
Prop.
Look at this guy. Look at this.
I won an Innovator Creed Award for Greek members of the UCF community. I won it for my journalism and reporting progress in terms of covering the school and doing many stories that, of course, thankfully you guys allowed me to do.
Wow, well, that's very good. And by the way, men's basketball knocks off Cincinnati. We knew it was coming, right? That there would be a deep run in the Crown for men's basketball. What surprises you about this? The Knights advancing now to face the winner of the late game, Villanova USC, coming up that game Saturday for the Knights.
The Knights finally beat Cincinnati. The revenge game has been long awaited. We know this team has always had their struggles with Cincinnati, especially like during the season in February. It felt like that was kind of like when the season took a turn when the loss to Cincinnati came. So we're just happy to see the 31-point performance from Darius Johnson. What was it? 10 in a row in the second half. Some insane 3-pointers that he made. You got double-digit scoring. You got double-digit scoring from Nils, Tyler, and Mustafa. This is a shorthanded Knights team. You're seeing a bunch of guys who are playing their final game for UCF.
Not yet. They're not.
Not yet. Final tournament. Excuse me. Final tournament, because they technically made the Final Four. Kind of. Is that what we're going for?
Hang the banner.
Hang the banner.
Hang
the banner. Jericho. Hey, Keyshawn, who?
Yes, Keyshawn Auburn. That's what we're saying. Keyshawn Auburn.
Andrew, who obviously, UCF shorthanded, some guys not playing here. Who has kind of surprised you that stepped up? Who have you really kind of enjoyed seeing play these last couple of games that has really kind of impressed you?
I would say, remember when we did the award, UCF Night Awards, I would say the two guys who were in the contention for most improved, Tyler Hendricks and Nils Mahovsky. I mean, they inserted themselves into the starting lineup. Well, Johnny did, and they've
They have.
taken it and ran with it. They have been playing great hustle ball, great defense, and I think that's some of the defense that this Knights team didn't see throughout the conference season that you're seeing step up in these in the conference college basketball crown. The name is still a little fuzzy to me. It's still getting used to it.
Andrew Jericho live from UCF, and we will see you back out at UCF at the Bounce House on Saturday for the open practice for UCF football. Andrew, congratulations on your honor, and thanks for joining us on Suns Live.
Happy to be on, guys. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Andrew. Congrats.
All right, from one well-dressed individual to another, we bring in bow tie Ben Hazel. Whoa! I have got the dress code memos all wrong. Jericho's all dressed.
You
Ben,
missed a meeting. You missed a meeting, Trace, apparently.
The crown, I'm sorry, I just couldn't do it for the crown. I couldn't do it for the crown, but you hit it on the head. Who knew losing a $2.5 million man would be the number one thing that we needed to beat the Bearcats? That's crazy.
Well, the Knights advance. They knock off Cincinnati. It's been a while since UCF has beaten the Bearcats. Darius Johnson, a strong performance, and Nils and some others, Tyler, who we haven't heard a whole lot of throughout the season, they step up when they need to.
No, I'm not a fan. I don't like it, even though I'm really happy for him. You know what I mean? But it's really individual. These games, I know Darius was a little ahead of himself, or clearly not. He's so zoned in on the game that he still is, putting in noise. He was like, the games, there's still fans and we can hear it. I'm like, I could hear the coach on the screen. I could hear exactly what Wes Miller was saying. He said, box out. Okay.
It's a late arriving crowd for USC Villanova.
Like it is dead empty in there. Like these are not the most intense games that we've ever seen. I would have loved for a Nils and a Tyler to give us one of those performances when it really mattered to us. That's why I don't really get too excited about it. And I mean, a lot of these teams, as far as motivation is concerned, playing in April, like they've been off a month, like you could tell kind of the games aren't necessarily carrying the same juice that they did when we saw Kansas at home. But, hey, I'm definitely happy that they're getting the money. But it is hard to be too overly happy for everybody just because they're transferring. You didn't do that for us when you were here, but you really motivated to get your money and get your clips for your transfer portal.
I'm guessing that if there's a crown trophy, I don't see a photo of you being
No,
taken
you will
at
not.
the arena.
You will not. No, you will not. As happy as I get, like Tyler, that's my boy, the twin, that's my guy. I'm like, he could do that. We know he could do that. We all knew he could do that, but why now?
You think there's a chance some of these guys that have announced that they're going into the portal might change their minds and be welcome
they
back?
might. In this world, you could do whatever you want. So, yeah, if you want to change your mind, you could definitely change your mind. And Coach Dawkins is definitely the coach, the players kind of guy that will, he's done it with players in the past. So I don't see that changing, especially if it's somebody that can really help us. And they definitely will be welcome back, Tyler, Nils. We talked about the defensive part. I don't know if it's changed just because of the crown, but it is just kind of the state of where college basketball is.
Well, Ben, we joked off the top. Obviously, no Keyshawn Hall, no Mikey Williams. This team appears to be playing a little bit better now. It could be competition. I get all that, but why do you think this team is maybe looking better than they did without some of these guys who were, the big name guys, the leading scorer in the Big 12?
They're playing unselfish. That's literally what you see. You could see guys cheering for each other a little bit more. You could see that everybody there is definitely at least giving the respect of the people that showed up, right? So that you could tell that they're playing for each other from that perspective. And, they're really just sharing the ball. Offensively is probably what has looked a lot better. And I know people will be like, our point totals are around the same, stuff like that. But it's more about the pace of play and the type of shots that you get help your defense. So we're not giving these long runouts, Keyshawn dribbling up top, missing it. They get long runouts, stuff like that. And, we're still getting beat up on the glass, but, we actually kind of look pretty decent with Mustafa and Benny out there.
Let's give Darius his flowers. I'm curious your perspective on this. Like to your point, it's a nothing burger tournament, right? This at the end of the day means nothing in terms of the hierarchy of basketball. Yeah, Darius is still out here playing his ass off, right? Still leading this team. What does that say about the kind of guy Darius Johnson is? That even though there's all this noise going around him, he's still the same guy you expected, leading this team. That giant smile on TV afterwards in interviews. What does that say about Darius Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a class act, right? Like he's somebody that is going to be top in a lot of the categories at UCF, and he's going to go down as a UCF legend. And I did think rightfully so, just with how much he's dedicated to the school, to the coaching staff, and just his willingness to fight and just stick in the fight with the people he came in with. And that's something that is just really commendable. And I mean, him having guys down and all that stuff, he's not down about it. He's taking that leadership role like, hey, we're still getting to play. And I think that is contagious, and why you're seeing a Tyler and you're seeing a Nils and guys kind of still, putting that effort forward to give themselves a chance to keep playing. And it's been fun to watch from that perspective. Like he's still giving it all, getting shots up. I mean, another 30-point performance under his resume. Hats off to him. This is just another moment where I say, like, this is the last of a dying breed when you talk about guys sticking with the university. And we as a fan base and just the university need to recognize it and really just continue to give him his flowers because, he's really given his all.
I know, Ben, you're still close with a lot of these players. I'm not asking you to betray confidences, but what's the mood like? Is there frustration that these guys are leaving? Is it like, man, I can't believe some of these guys are kind of bailing out on us? What's the mood like from the guys you get a chance to talk to that are currently still on the team?
I mean, it's not as much care as you would think, right? Because it's something that is so normal amongst college basketball, right? So you're playing with guys that are going to leave. You still might be friends with them. That's just kind of how college basketball is. I know these guys are a lot more inward looking, like, about their own situation, where their opportunities lie. So they kind of respect it probably even more than the regular person on these guys' decisions to, go elsewhere.
What lies ahead for Darius from a basketball perspective? He's got 1, possibly 2 games left in a Knights uniform in Vegas. What after?
Right. So, I mean, I guess it would just be, getting ready for summer league draft stuff. So the combine, all of those little things, and then just kind of taking it day by day. The one kind of crazy part about, the season ending as a college basketball player is, things get a lot more by the call last minute. There's not as much planning that you can do, whether you go overseas, whether you make an NBA team. And if you're not like one of the main guys, like, you don't know what city you're going to be in. There's a lot more uncertainty that comes into this. So I know he's going to just take it with stride. I'm sure he's probably going to get invited to the senior college, the basketball game, that showcase event. So just probably for him, just back to normal, just working out, getting ready for the draft and, getting himself in the best position, best shape to continue to build on what he's been finishing off this year.
We spoke of Keyshawn Hall earlier. What surprises you about Auburn inking him?
Nothing really. What will probably be the most interesting is the role that he plays there, because the style of play that he plays with us, it's going to be hard to find that. You watch Auburn, they're in the Final Four. It is crazy that you got guys committing to Final Four teams now while they're on TV. But, hey, I don't know if they look at him like the next Janai Broom, because I don't know if that's a good comparison. But, hey, we've seen, guys get paid a lot and then not go well. So, we'll see. Like we saw it with Kansas, we saw it with Kansas State. Like, we've seen it. So every year is a new year for every single program across the country. Is 2.5 a lot, a little? Are guys getting paid more? Are guys getting paid less? Are they going to go to the tournament, go to the Final Four again next year? Those are all questions that we're really just going to have to wait and see.
But I'm trying to mature and adjust as a fan too to this new era of college basketball, right? And a year ago I didn't know who Keyshawn Hall was, right? So to be mad that he's leaving now doesn't feel right for me. But one thing that kind of gave me a little bit of kind of grinded my gears a little bit. His quote to John Rothstein was, "I want to go play for Auburn because I want to play for the best coach in the country, Bruce Pearl." Now, this was the same Keyshawn who had a loving, tweet about
Love
Johnny
it.
Doc. Like that just felt a little
It's a
distant.
template.
I'm just curious.
It's a templated tweet.
Curious your perspective when you saw that. Like, I want to go play for the best coach in the country, and that's Bruce Pearl at Auburn.
I first don't think he even thought about what he was saying in the sense of like, yo, well, what about your coach now and all that? But that's just kind of how these guys are wired. Like that's why I say Darius is such an anomaly. These dudes are really, they don't take much pride and care about the people they choose to play with, play for. It's very transactional. It's very right now. And that's just, I don't know if there is any getting more used to it than you are right now, right? Like, hey, it is what it is. But, I'm more in the boat of, man, we came in 14th. Like, you walking around like you did something for us. You didn't do anything for us. Nils and Tyler and all that. Like, y'all didn't do nothing for us. Like, you guys are transferring and now you want your flowers. I'm playing good and all. You didn't do anything for us. Like, good luck. I hope there's another fan base that might feel different, but like, we wanted more from you for us. Like, we would love you if you did that during the regular season.
Ben, in this day and age, obviously everybody's phone is ringing. Everybody's got an agent or somebody messaging. How important is it for UCF to hold on to Mustafa Cham?
Extremely important. I mean, you see the talent, right? Like, there is no denying it when you watch him. Like, this guy has NBA prospects, and he's a talent that you just kind of have to keep just because of his production with or without the ball. And I know every team in the country probably feels the same. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out this summer. But, with college basketball, college sports, it's really, just a guessing game and just a waiting game. And there's not really much to go with, like guys' words and stuff like that. There's nothing binding really until they show up to campus next fall.
I'm curious, Ben, if Mustafa called you and said, hey, like, what do I do, man? Like, I'm trying to figure some stuff out. What kind of advice would you give Mustafa if he called you tomorrow and said, Ben, I got a lot of stuff going on. I got all these options. Like, what do you think I should do?
For a guy like Mustafa, I would say go where they need you, not where they want you. And that would mean that you would need to follow more of your own basketball opportunity and really taking care of the mental aspect of this whole journey that you're going to go on, in the sense of the NBA is an actual prospect for you. So, I mean, that would probably lead me to say that you should probably stay, because that, like I said, I talk about that relationship between Mustafa and Mamadou. Like, that is one that you won't be able to replicate anywhere else. And that is one that has clearly helped you a ton. I would give that a chance to actually develop me into what I'm trying to get to, because you already are getting mentorship from a guy that is literally already done what you are literally doing right now. So if there's a blueprint to be had, he has it, and it's already shown, some payoff. So I think you should stay with it.
UCF beat Cincinnati to move on to the semifinals. Ben, do the Knights now need to win the crown for this to be a successful season, or has it been deemed a successful season?
No, I only want them to win the crown so my boy DJ can go out with a good little check. It can hold him off while he continues his pro journey. And I hope, I want it for all the guys. Like, you don't want them like getting money as a college kid. Like, I'm jealous of them in that fact. So love that they're, taking advantage of that. But other than that, the only reason I feel like I'm even watching is because of you guys, Coach Dawkins and Darius, like this.
Because of us, because we said, come on,
made the list.
Yeah, like, I got to make sure my boys know I was tuned in, because when I watched some of the other games, I turned it real fast.
They win it all. Hang a banner?
No. Definitely
you're
no.
anti-banner.
No, please don't. There's teams that are like, there are a few.
Ben Hazel, sans bow tie. Ben Hazel, all season long with the Sons of UCF. We thank you, Ben, for all your contributions. A full breakdown of the crown coming up later on the Sons of UCF with Ben. Ben, thanks much. We'll let you get to Villanova, USC, and start scouting.
Oh, man, I'm sure it's
Saturday opponent.
Thanks, Ben.
Go Knights.
No bow tie. I was thrown by this. I did not expect the level of disdain.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting a bow tie. I mean, he and I texted earlier. I could sense that he was like, I'm gonna watch because I think Ben's kind of like me and Bat. Like UCF's playing, right? I'm gonna watch it because that's what I do. But like, I'm not gonna invest in it. I'm not gonna be like at the edge of my chair, like, oh, get the rebound. Like, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna root, and you want to see your team win. But it's hard to know what to make of this tournament. That's why I said on Around the Kingdom Overtime, like people were talking about banning. This tournament could literally not be here next year, right? Like this could literally just be one and done in a tournament. We're gonna have a banner in the rafters. Like I think it's hard to know what it means. If this becomes a 10-year tournament run and every year they're doing the crown and it kind of becomes the new NIT, then yeah, in 10 years, it'll be like, oh, it's cool. We won the first one ever. But right now it's hard to put that in context.
The quest for the crown continues Saturday for UCF men's basketball. Gives us a little bit more content. The Knights, the lone remaining Big 12 school alive in the crown. Houston, the lone remaining Big 12 team alive in the Final Four. We go around the Big 12 now with Jeff Allen.
In a Final Four that finds all number one seeds squaring off on Saturday, the Houston Cougars rep the Big 12, taking on the overall number one seed Duke Blue Devils in San Antonio. As they attempt to win their first ever national championship, they're making their first Final Four appearance since 2021 when they dropped their semifinal matchup against Baylor. The last time the Cougs went to the national championship game was back during the Phi Slamma Jamma era in the 80s. During their 3-year run, they went to the title game in back-to-back seasons, losing on a miracle game-winning basket to the Cinderella NC State team of Jim Valvano in 83, and then falling to Georgetown in 84. Houston versus Duke in the semifinal will tip after 9 p.m. Saturday night on CBS. In the women's tournament, TCU was the last Big 12 team standing and made it to the Elite Eight. They dropped that contest on Monday night to Texas 58-47. Haley Van Lith, who had a bounce-back season after transferring from LSU, led the scoring with 17. The Horned Frogs closed the season with a 34-4 record. With your Big 12 Minute, I'm Jeff Allen.
Athletic Director Terry Mahadra out in Vegas, at least in the early portion of the crown, for some meetings with Fox officials. Does he extend his stay, or does he make it back to meet and greet with donors and others Saturday at the Bounce House?
Oh, great question. Oh, man.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? I think he comes back to the football.
He can't miss the semifinal match.
I think he comes back. If they go to the finals, then he just flies back out. I think he comes back for football. And then if they're in the finals, I think he flies back out on, what is that, Sunday? Is that being played?
Yeah, Sunday. Back-to-back days, right? Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, our budget can handle Mahajer on 2 cross-country flights and 2 consecutive days.
The Crown's paying for everything else.
There you go. We're good. We're clear.
Hardest working man this week, Nick Williams, out there for our football camp report that'll come out soon on sonsofUCF.com. Also doing this week's Baseball Minute. Knights break a losing streak, beat Stetson in a rain-shortened game. We go now to Nick Williams with our Baseball Minute.
UCF baseball found themselves in a slump. After a 5-game losing streak started to Houston, they were finally able to get back in the win column on Tuesday's matchup against Stetson. It may have came as an unconventional win as the Knights were leading 2-0 before going into the weather delay, but it may have just given them enough confidence heading into this weekend series.
I mean, I think we pitched at the level that we're capable of pitching. Matt went out there and pitched like you've seen our guys pitch for most of the year. Like up until last weekend, we don't walk guys. We're pretty efficient on the pitch count stuff. And for whatever reason this weekend we didn't compete in the strike zone enough, and Matt did. So hopefully we get back to doing what we're capable of.
Nothing felt different. Coach Wallace's opening thing was just kind of make today a new opening day. Like this is another start. This can be the start of our second half of the season, start of our role, whatever you want to call it. But it's really just start fresh.
UCF will look to start fresh in this weekend's home series against Kansas, where all games will be streaming on ESPN+. Friday and Saturday starts at 6 p.m. and Sunday at 1 p.m. I'm Nick Williams with your UCF Baseball Minute.
A pretty nice hat there. I'm not familiar with that hat.
It's available for everybody on Knights Fan Shop. So if you go to knights-fan-shop.com, you too can own that particular hat. You cannot own this hat. Trace, new hat design here. How many of these do I have made?
2.
4. There are only 4.
You
only
always
4
do the
available.
limited
I know.
quantity to create the
Only
scarce.
4 available. So if somebody wants one of these, new style, it's not a trucker hat. It's a comfortable hat, Trey. So I'll be there Saturday. Maybe I'll bring one of these with me if somebody comes up to me and says something nice that makes me smile. Perhaps you'll get a hat. I don't know.
I think that person who wins the hat will just say, "Hey, UCF Mike, I haven't seen you in a while."
Oh, well, I may take that person's hat if that's the interaction we have.
Number 23, Kansas comes to John Juliano Park Friday at 6, Saturday at 6. Though I would say they should consider delaying first pitch as the men's basketball game will be preceding it. FS1, right? Is it FS1 or did they move to Fox on?
I think we're FS1
Saturday?
only. It's a big potential day for UCF Sports, right? You got the open practice. Then post that, right? You want to get home, right? Then you got the Crown. Final 4K tips off after that as well. So you get a lot of sports potentially on
Baseball,
deck for Saturday.
yeah.
That too.
How far is North Florida from you? The Knights are there Tuesday at 6.
Hop, skip, and jump, my friend.
Well, we'll count on you to be there to cover that.
That's exactly what I would do.
Line up a credential.
Yep.
Meantime, softball, 4-8 in the Big 12, 22-16-1 overall, and something called the Okana Invitational, where they are facing number 2 Oklahoma twice, Friday at 8, Saturday at 1:30. In between that, St. Thomas at 11 a.m. on Saturday. We'll see how the Knights fare against the number 2 team in the country. All right. It is time for, I like this segment. And I thank Dolly Drama for filling in admirably last week.
Yeah, he kept her streak alive.
Live. Yeah. This is Who Said It, Bailey or Christian, from the very popular Pegasus podcast, which you can find right now on Sons YouTube.
All right. This week's quote is, "It's so funny you brought this up because I was having this conversation with myself last week." It's so funny you brought this up because I was having this conversation with myself last week.
Well, that really is, I've talked to Christian about this. The first one was inflammatory, so it meant it was him. And after that, he's tried to disguise this. I'll go Christian this week. I really don't know. It's just a coin flip.
It is true that it's so funny you brought this up because I was having this conversation with myself like last week.
Your streak continues. You are a savant at this game. It's unbelievable. That sound you hear, ladies and gentlemen, is Christian Simmons spiking a coffee cup in his living room right now because he's trying hard to beat Trey Strelko, who somehow is a savant at this game. I have no idea how. Are you cheating in advance? Are you listening to these?
No, I usually listen when
Scouts Honor.
I usually listen when Pegasus come out, but when we started doing the segment, it's delayed.
You're the one download they're missing. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I usually listen driving around, but I delay that, so I don't feel as knowledgeable. Which is also the case. By the way, it's been 2 weeks now. Have I updated you lately on the Twitter saga? And I need some input from you and Night Nation about this.
Hit me. Bring it.
So Elmo, that's what I call Elon, who screwed up Twitter, amongst other things. I got the need to change my password because of suspicious activity on my account message. Before I could do that, my account was locked, and I filed the appropriate appeals. And we've been in this cycle, which I've tired of, to be quite honest, where they ask me my handle, my phone, my email, and when the incident occurred and what I want, which is to be reinstated. And then 24, 48 hours later, I get the same email back. So there's no real clarity here, no one to appeal to, no phone number to call. And my account is there, which I can't access, which is a sort of like delete me at least, but not leave me there in suspended animation. So do I start a new account?
No.
I mean, I don't really care. I haven't missed it, to be honest with you. I feel a little less knowledgeable about stupid crap for the most part.
No.
And I thank you for allowing me to piggyback on the Suns Twitter account for posting a clip.
Happy to share. Happy to teamwork here. Isn't there a guy in the UCF fan base who was like tracking Elon's planes? There's got to be somebody who can hack into your account on your behalf and get you set back up. There's a lot of smart
set me
people
back up or delete me.
Let's not delete you. Let's keep.
Well,
we
I'm
need,
not trying
we
to
need
be.
at sign Pez where he's at. Aren't we like number one in cybersecurity? There's got to be somebody who has like a backdoor, like hit the Friendster button or something. Like somebody out there in Night Nation knows the way to get you back into this account. We need at sign Pez back in the ether. The amount of times I've tagged you in posts, and then I've like, he can't see it anyway. So
I deleted that Twitter handle on my my name here in StreamYard.
I see that. You're still out. I'm
I don't
looking
really
at it
know
right
what
now.
to do.
You're still active. Like I can,
bet I'm not, but I can't access it.
I can message you. I mean, I can.
I know. I feel bad for all those people that have been messaging me, especially for those people that want free baseball tickets that I can't give away.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody out there at Night Night Show.
Save that.
Help
What's
trace.
the other solution? It's start a new account or don't return.
Start a new account or don't. Like if you recall, our good buddy UCF Mike had this issue. He got flagged for.
Yeah, but he came back.
But it took a while. It took him a while to kind of appeal and get brought back. So this could be either a patience is a virtue situation, or we need the cybersecurity folks at UCF to just start punching a bunch of buttons and sign pads is back up and running by COB tomorrow.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't feel as quick to the knowledge, but it's liberating to refresh that dumb app throughout the day. So there's that. I could gravitate towards Blue Sky. I have that account, and I'm not as active on that. I could help populate that account, or and what's interesting as we delay this show, and as it should be ending at 10, I'm disoriented on the Suns account. Because you follow a whole host of different things. Yeah. And there are people that I don't know and a lot of golf stuff that I don't know. Though I did find interesting these Masters type shoes.
You saw those shoes? Those are nice.
Yeah, no, I thought that was interesting.
Those are nice shoes.
Yeah. I thought that was
a lot of golf content, a lot of 90s TV and music you'll find on there and movies. Yeah, it's good.
I will tell you the other thing, being completely transparent and honest, is it's your account. Yes. And people associated with you. So you engage in various conversations with people.
Yes.
And because I have that app logged in as you for posting I get these notifications and I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like eavesdropping on these. So I'm not reading any of those conversations. I'm uncomfortable.
Are these DMs, you mean?
Yeah. I get those notifications. No, but those are, but they're not talking to me. They're talking to you.
Well, they could be. No, actually, there was one earlier today that.
But I don't think it's appropriate because that's misrepresenting.
The individual addressed the question. It said Adam/Trace because this person knows that you may be on there as well. So it was actually addressed to both of us in this message.
Well, but you understand what I'm saying here.
I do.
Feel like they're talking to you, and I know you said me Twitter as Sue
Twitter as Sue Twitter, absolutely, yeah.
But I'm not. I don't know. I'm just. I
apologize in advance for JP Gilbert. But other than that, you're gonna love Suns Twitter. It's a great place. Although I assume this is UCF Mike is asking how are you gonna get all the bowl projections out?
Well, the other thing is that I want to behave on Twitter like me.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's right because it's you. So the reposts, and you don't follow back a lot of people that follow you. So that's been disorienting. I'm pretty good about following back everybody that followed me.
I have a strict follow back criteria. Like I have a whole system.
Well, but you haven't greenlit me to follow back all these people. Like you haven't.
No, yeah. I'm gonna need you to run some of these past me. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to run some of these past me. Yeah, there's some strategic moves on my part on who's following and who's not.
Well, Jan of Jan and Britt says, why don't you just post on the Suns account and then she'll know that she's getting that information. So I don't know. I don't really have a solution.
Me Twitter as
I'm not fretting over it, but it has just been a little bit, out of
fun fact. I actually have a personal Twitter that I started a long time ago. I think I have like 100 followers and like 10 tweets total. Right. So there's another options available to us there, but me Twitter as Sue Twitter, stay as long as you like, put your feet up, go in the fridge if you need something.
What's the follow rules then?
I need to be consulted. I think my sensibilities.
I got to check that mute button. See, I feel like I'm invading your privacy. I want to see I never really muted anybody on the.
Go check the mute and go check the muted words. The muted words is even better.
Words.
Yeah, you can mute certain words from not appearing in your Twitter feed. Oh, you should go check my list. My list is curated to perfection. It is exactly what I need in my life. So go check the muted. Do an expose if you need to. I'll watch for crying out loud. I'll sit down.
All right. Thank you for indulging in that conversation.
I don't think we solved anything.
No, I haven't solved the problem, but I thank you for allowing me to post clips from practice and such. Let's check in on some news and notes real quick.
Muhammad Mustafa Champ, let's go around the kingdom.
Hey, do we have one of those for Keyshawn Hall? How much does this cost?
Yeah, it's funny enough. We actually do not have a Keyshawn. I was going to play that one. For some reason, we do not have a Keyshawn Hall. We had a Jalen Sellers, but it didn't seem as fun as Keyshawn.
We got a Mikey, right?
We have a Mikey.
Yeah. We should put all those together, all the former Knights.
Listen, the amount of thanks for watchings that I have for people who don't have any association with UCF anymore is absolutely fantastic. Yes,
that's fun.
It was a good one.
The Kingdom Auction is back, 3rd annual, Thursday, April 24th, 6:30 to 9:30. Maybe we'll get somebody on there at the beginning of the show to talk about what they bid on.
Do you think they want one
at
of
the
these hats?
arena? Benefiting student athletes. They still go to school, right? Some of these.
Great question. Great question.
The Kingdom Auction. What kind of stuff? So they haven't released what's going to be able to be bid on for that.
I have not seen that. I imagine, you're going to get some Scott Frost signed memorabilia, perhaps, some Mackenzie Milton signed memorabilia. Shaquem Griffin, I'm sure, will have something signed as well.
Where's he been lately? Haven't seen him around.
It's a great question. He's on our Twitter. Feel free to follow along. Enjoy his journey.
Okay. Around the kingdom this week, kudos to Christian Simmons. Eric Lopez got called into baseball duty not very long before that game started. Credit to Eric, professionalism, calling a baseball game. He benefited obviously by it being rain shortened. He got in and he got out. But Christian Simmons took the call and said, yeah, I'll hop on Around the Kingdom. And here's a clip from this week's show.
From this current roster, who is untradeable on UCF's roster right now?
Well, that's a deep question. Let me give you a deep answer. There is not a player on this roster who is untradeable if I'm the GM of UCF football. I think there are some that there are fan considerations. Like I imagine when I announced that we've traded John Walker for cash considerations, some of the fan base would not be happy with that. But I really think this is a reset. We all understand that. And there are certain players who we feel great about, but
there was a later defense of Paul Rubelt. And when the question is turned a little bit about who you'd be upset about if they entered the portal.
Yes, yeah. The question, if you don't understand the question, I posed to Trace and Christian that they were NFL style GMs of UCF, and they had the ability to do whatever they want with the roster. Is there anybody that was untradeable? They would not trade for anything. And Christian's answer and Trace's answer, I might add, it was clipped out of there, but was both that there's nobody on this roster that they would deem untouchable.
Yeah, I feel better about the quarterbacks though today. I will be honest with you. I don't want to lose anybody. All right, for one of the final times, it is that time again.
So it's a mailbag. So what?
So what? Do you know whose mailbag that is?
It's that time again. Time to open the Brian W. Peterson Sons of UCF mailbag.
You know, tax season almost over for Brian. He'll come out of his cave. I'm just being fun with that for the last one. But I will tell you.
Are you though?
I'm kidding about that. But I will tell you, I think I've made a decision about my future with this show.
Oh boy. We should talk about this.
We'll talk offline, maybe Saturday.
Okay.
Well,
now that you've invited our friends to the conversation, do we have to share something here?
No. We'll talk offline.
Okay. Well, because if you go, I go. Listen, it's a we're Bert and Ernie here, buddy. It's a package deal.
Well, Bert and Ernie. That begs a lot of questions. Who's Bert? Who's Ernie?
I'm gonna regret that one for sure. Yeah, if you're gone, I'm out. Listen, that's what we're doing. Next week starting.
Did I say that? I didn't say that. I didn't say anything. At UCF_Zach a few weeks ago, Adam boldly proclaimed himself a Cam Fancher guy. Or Cam was Adam's guy, something like that. Long shot at this. Yeah. But this individual, Zach, wants to know, is Adam a Scott Frost media mole? Bribing shareholders? Mentioned hats. Clairvoyant?
Possible.
Dude who knows ball.
Unlikely. This is me doing a couple things. Playing the odds. I got a 25% chance of being right. So I'm just playing the odds here. And again, I'm basing this off 0.0% of football knowledge. I'm just trying to read some tea leaves on tweets and what pictures are out there and what posts we have, because I'm here to tell you this, friends. Everybody gather around. Get in closely here. Mm-hmm. If anybody tells you they know who the quarterback is,
they don't.
They're lying to you, because I don't think anybody knows, A. And B, I don't think even if Scott Frost right now on this particular day and time knew who the quarterback was, I don't think he's going to announce that publicly to anybody yet. I think he's going to keep that close to the vest. There's probably leaders in the clubhouse. This guy had a great week. This guy had a great week. This guy had a good practice. This guy didn't have a good practice. I think this is very much going to be like the stock market is right now, which is just up and down, a lot more down than up, unfortunately. But I think it's going to be exactly like that. So I have zero knowledge. I'm taking a 25% guess on this one. Plus, I'm just reading the tea leaves on some tweets. KZ did light up a little bit today when asked about Cam Fancher. I saw a smile come across his face. He said other people were inconsistent.
How do you think
Cam
he
was
did
steady?
during the various questions about who was doing well and how they were performing?
A lot of people busting their butts, which is fantastic. A lot of butt busting going on is what I understood the practice phenomenon to be here. I think he did a nice job of deflecting and just saying all these guys are working hard. I do think it was telling. There were a couple times he was asked questions and he was kind of like, look, that's a tough, I can't answer that. I don't know. I did
when asked about the portal, he
absolutely.
didn't, he didn't like that question. Well, I mean,
he was kind of like, hey, you're putting me in a tough spot. I don't know the answer. And so I do kind of like with all these coaches, Trace, we've seen a bit of a refreshing bit of honesty a little bit. Like you and I know Coach Becton a little bit from our interactions with him. That's a guy who's not here to play the political game, right? He's not here to play the PR game. He's going to tell you like it is. So I do like a little bit of some of this honesty that's getting out there. But again, the only honesty I will tell you is this, is nobody knows who the quarterback is. And if they did, they wouldn't tell us right now anyway.
Which means that we will not get an answer on who's the leader from Scott Frost, who's expected to speak with the media following Saturday's open practice at Golden Knight _2. Would you rather have basketball make it to the NCAA basketball championship but lose, or have football make it to a semifinal college football playoff but lose? So losing occurs here in either scenario. We're a football first school. Let's advance to that point in football.
Yeah, I think the phenomena around a football, I guess a semifinal game would be much greater than a UCF basketball final game. So give me football.
Yeah, Mr. Matt Dolan. If UCF was in the college basketball crown final and it was scheduled a week later at the same time as the final round of the Masters, which one would you be watching? Well, now that I'm a Masters aficionado based upon Sun's Twitter.
It's a great question, Matt.
Osmosis.
It's a great question, by the way. And what I would do is I would just hit the little button here in my YouTube TV. I would go picture in picture, Matt Dolan. I would have the crown on one. I would have the Masters on the other. It also would depend on what's the leaderboard look like. Do I have a no name at the top? What's the gap between 1 and 2? If I'm going down to that Sunday and I've got Rory McIlroy versus, Brooks Koepka, I'm going to be in there. If it's a one-shot difference, I'm going to be in there. And UCF may get the small screen and or the computer.
At UCF Report, Matthew doing an excellent job of
Fantastic
photography
job, yes.
for Suns. If you were an AD, how would you go about allocating the $500,000 NIL pot from the crown? UCF wins all of that in couple short days. All in on Mustafa. The rest of you get nothing. You get nothing.
That's a great question. I actually just tweeted this to Matt Murchell, who posted that $50,000 goes to UCF. And I don't know. I don't know if it's been announced, Trace. How is that? It's not 50 each, right? So it's 50K.
No, I think that's
so. How is the split? I don't think anybody really knows that yet. Like I'd love.
Is that the total amount though? The 500,000, or was that a typo?
I think that's total. If you get to all of the
you
steps.
win everything.
Yeah, I think that's total if you get to all the steps here.
That's really UCF's NIL budget.
I'd be in favor of everybody getting a fair shake, right? But it's tough because Pooh's not playing, right? There's some 7-footer on the bench who hasn't actually, I don't even know if he has shoes on. We haven't seen him all season. And so part of me wants to split it evenly amongst everybody, but I do think the 2025 version of this needs to be prorated perhaps to level of participation and activation during the game versus just everybody.
How's your math skills? Because this next question's got some things you're going to have to follow. UCF Guy 1203 on Blue Sky, piggybacking off our overtime around the Kingdom discussion of how many would be willing to take $2 million in NIL money from football for basketball if it means all 3 years football makes a bowl game and men's basketball makes the big dance twice in those same 3 years with Dawkins and makes it to the Sweet 16 once. So there's a lot of numbers in there. But the fundamental question is, for everybody that wants more money allocated to basketball, how much are you willing to take away from football?
But I read this as both teams are successful because football's going to a bowl game, which, again, bowls are bowls, right? I understand that's not everything. And men's basketball is going to the big dance twice in a Sweet 16. So I'm reading this as both teams are successful. So if that's the case, I'm okay with that. Yeah, if both teams have some level of, and now it doesn't say what kind of bowl game. I assume he doesn't mean New Year's 6. But perhaps it's one of the larger style bowl games. It doesn't mean UCF didn't have a 9-win season, but didn't get into the college football playoff bracket situation. So I'm going to assume the positive here. And this seems like both teams would win on this situation. So Now, if you told me UCF's going to be, if football-wise, going to be at the tank for 2 years, then I think you're going to have people gathering their pitchforks. But it sounds like both teams are successful in this scenario, so I'll take that all day.
JP Gilbert. Now, did he get his account restored by Omo, or did he have to start a new one?
I believe he started anew. But he was.
So he lost all of his previous.
But he was officially hacked. Like somebody took over his account. Like there was another person posting on his account that was not him. So he had a hostile takeover. You're just being put on the sidelines. I think it's a different scenario.
JPS is the Crown round 1 win. Now another win since that question was sent to us. More important than any win in UCF baseball history. Follow-up question, emptiness 4. Michael, is JP Gilbert real? For real should be what it says. No.
I think he actually, I think
the Crown.
I think he meant it real. I do think he meant is JP Gilbert real. I don't think that's a typo.
No, the Crown is not more important than any UCF baseball win in their history. No.
You know what? I'd be curious to figure, and I guess it's not a fair fight, I suppose, right? But like, what was the viewership on tonight's game versus the viewership of an average baseball game? The one's ESPN Plus, one's paywall. So it's not a fair fight, but I'd be curious.
They're not the same.
They're not the same. I'd be curious.
Eric Lopez, do you have any early ratings? Drop them in the chat if you have any. Tuesday, Oregon State afternoon. FS1.
So rating. I think emptiness here, clarifying. I think he's basically claiming JP Gilbert Twitter is a bot. So JP Gilbert human is a real person, but that there's somebody out there that's got a bot of actual JP Gilbert.
Wow. That is the conspiracy theory of the evening.
That's deep.
At Black Gold _ is the Rich Wallace honeymoon over? It's a 5-game losing streak. We talked a little bit about this. Was it overtime? I believe we expanded.
No, there was an actual segment on Around the Kingdom. We actually covered this.
No, it was from Black Gold. I stole the question.
No, we spent one solid minute talking about this on an actual show that we did.
Solid minute.
Solid
give
minute.
Give you 2 here. No, let's see how things go the rest of the season. That's a long season. No, too soon to say that. Add 2 letters, 2 words, Robert.
Yeah.
Which would be more impactful and important? Baseball making it to the College World Series or softball making it to the College World Series? Baseball.
Softball.
Still more popular.
I think softball. UCF has a lane there to be potentially, if they got there, it'd be one of the quote unquote powers in softball, right? Kind of establish that top women's sport for UCF. So I would go softball. I think that actually would have more impact.
UCF Knights win at UCF Knights win. A win in the space game or a loss in a game in which we honor a past great UCF team. Which one would you feel more comfortable betting on to happen? Now, the law of averages on space game, right? Start to ratchet up. You can't win everyone forever, right?
No, but I mean, I'm a pessimist, so I chalk me up to the L for the we're honoring a legend on field to get shellacked or pull a Baylor from 2024 or 2023 rather.
At Lonely Bee UCF, I'd really like to watch some UCF men's tennis and women's tennis, but the viewing angles for college tennis are unwatchable. I don't know.
He's not wrong.
Can you get one of the Suns interns to hold a camera at an appropriate angle so I can watch some matches? Well, we set it out there. Which intern would you want to send out there?
I liked it. So listen, in full transparency, I don't agree with this. However, Deion Sanders famously rates his children, ranks them, and changes his rankings. I'm not opposed to us ranking the interns. Each week there's a power ranking. I mean, that's a little loose and fast, right? We'll have to figure that out.
Well, Nick Williams hustled today. I'll give him that. He was all over the place today.
But I don't want to call anybody out. But there's some people I haven't seen this week on the socials. I haven't seen anybody on camera. People have stuff going on, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a weekly Suns intern power ranking.
Can we work up a graphic for that?
I don't know. Are there HR rules involved in this? We don't have an HR, by the way. But are there HR rules involved?
Why did the internship program end with the Suns?
Yeah, I don't know what the rules
found
are
out
here.
We were ranking them and putting them up to polls.
Yeah. I don't think that's appropriate.
All right. We kind of spoke. Do we need to still play What's in the Box? Did we not kind of cover?
I mean, we speak a lot, actually. Here's the thing. I believe when I checked this last
week
with
do you feel like you speak to me more or less now without the DMs in Twitter now that we're just
It's a funny question you asked that, because I was thinking the other day something full transparency to folks. Trace and I exchange a lot of I'll send a tweet to him and say, look at this. He'll send a tweet to me and say, look at this. So we do a lot of that.
We sometimes make fun of the same people.
Absolutely. There's a top 5 there as well. Without you being on Twitter, I can't send you the tweet. So I've done a few screenshots to you, but I feel like texting requires you to know in the moment. Where Twitter, you can go peruse it at your own time. And part of what I'm texting you is typically not something that is of any importance at all. Meaning I don't need you to drop what you're doing to acknowledge my text to you that says, look at this idiot, right? But on Twitter, you can just peruse at your own. So I've had a challenge trying to figure out, is this text worthy? Is this Trace's in a meeting? He's got something big going on there. He's at the boardroom doing one of these with somebody and he's, blah, blah, blah. And he's his phone going off with me telling him look at this idiot. Or is this something I should wait on? So I've had some challenges there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, it'll take an adjustment.
I'm a text guy though, so you can text me whatever you want. You can also go to Alumni Hall whenever you want, by the way, 4100 North Alafaya Trail. Or
are you going on Saturday?
I may go there. I may go there. Well, we've got a robust schedule planned, so I'll see if I can sneak in there now that we have the
Are
crown.
you solo for this, or
I'm solo dolo on this one? Now that we have the crown, I wasn't expecting to have a curfew to get back home. So
you need out by a certain time for our
4 o'clock
extravaganza of weekend coverage.
I need it out by 2 to be able to make it back home for the exhilarating final of the crown.
I got to tell you,
I know you got to tell me.
That's going to be hard.
Tell me that.
Say 10:30 to 12ish, 12:30.
Yeah,
and then post game media, and then we need to record some on cam stuff. I mean, you don't have to hang around for it, but
listen, part of the team. This is a timely question. This is also the last question in this particular batch of
this segment is ending.
I'm not saying it's ending. I just need to refresh this. I typically do this once a month. I just sit down and sketch out 30 questions and call it good. This is the last question and a timely one.
Am I going to like it?
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't. One that could get us in some trouble, Trey. So here's the question. What is something that costs money that should be free?
What's with these philosophical questions at this hour of the night? Something that costs. Is this a riddle?
It's no riddle. There's no riddle to this.
Something that costs money. How about some people supply some answers in the chat? Can we throw up a few answers what is something that costs money that should be free?
Yes, that was the question.
I don't know.
Look, there's a whole lot of serious answers here. So let me just. You didn't come here for serious answers, so you're not going to get serious answers from me. I have an answer for this question.
Yes.
My answer for this question is parking. If I'm going to your game and I'm paying money to go to your game and I'm going to pay for the popcorn and the hot dogs or whatever, I'm going to your concert, I shouldn't have to pay to park my vehicle. Why am I being punished? Because I'm going to your event. Now I have to pay more money. Parking should be free all over the place.
Do you know what theme park parking costs now? It's like $25, $30, $35 to get into Universal or the Disney.
Sounds like it. I imagine it is. Our good friend Bobby Malone. Bobby Malone with water. Very serious answer. I like that answer, Bobby.
Hey, Bobby. I like water as an answer. We talked about it on Around the Kingdom. Free concessions at Coastal Carolina. Hot dogs at games. Put that down as free.
Hot dogs should be free?
I think UCF would do a lot of goodwill on Saturday at that open practice if they had free concessions of some kind.
I have some bad news for you, Trace. I've done something terrible. And now we're stuck with this. Courtesy of our friend UCF Mike has now got us as Bert and Ernie. I don't know which one's which, though, by the way.
Has us where looking like this?
This is on social media, of course. This is on Twitter.
Well, good. I don't know about it.
You know, now you do. Which one's Bert? Which one's Ernie?
Wait. Which am I in this? What?
I don't know. I don't know which one's which. That it?
Ernie's the one.
I don't know how to.
I'm Ernie. I don't know how to.
How do I say this without doing any sort of insult? That actually kind of looks like me. I'm not gonna lie to you. What if I took my hat off like that? Actually, there's a resemblance there. I'm not gonna lie to you. Good job, Mike.
Can he do it with a hat? Can he put that?
Sure. I don't think the Panthers are playing tonight. He's got time. I'm sure. Maybe we can check on that. You haven't answered the question yet, by the way. Hot dogs is your answer?
Hot dogs? I don't know.
I did not have. Listen, the chat is all up on who's Bert and who's Ernie.
Bert is the yellow one.
Is Bert BERT or?
Were you a big Sesame Street guy? I liked Kermit the Frog, but I wasn't a big Sesame Street guy.
No, I wasn't. Yeah, I was a Flintstones guy. I was a Jetsons guy. Yeah, not a Sesame Street guy. No.
Who would you rather face in the Crown semifinals, Villanova or USC, currently tied at 23?
I'm watching this here currently.
They have 23 in the first half.
Give me USC. I don't really know why. Villanova had a
wait. What league are they in now?
Villanova's in the Big East. They had a down year, new
USC.
coach. USC's in the pack. Oh no, they're the big. Sorry, the Big 10.
They're the Big 10, Big 12.
Big something.
Big
They're
12.
They're big.
Big 10 showdown between UCF and Southern California. It's the most ridiculous sounding thing. It's something called the Crown.
Something called the Crown. Yeah, give me USC. I don't really know why. I mean, Villanova, though, is falling apart because, again, new coach. A lot of these guys are going to be here next year. There's already guys in the portal. I think they're in the same situation as UCF. Kevin Willard leaves Maryland to go to Villanova. Buzz Williams leaves Texas A&M to go to Maryland. It's all kinds of 6s and 7s.
Well, been entertaining. Looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
That I shall be.
You'll be there by when?
I don't want to listen. I'm not trying to dox myself on the internet, Trace. I will be there in plenty of time to be able to witness the events. I look forward to seeing you, seeing the interns.
You think people are tailing your every move like this?
You don't know what I do in my spare. You don't know what kind of, I could have, people out there or out to get me,
That's so cryptic. A lot of conspiracies on this theory. Ever since we went an hour later, the show has gotten darker.
I don't know who's watching this stuff.
How did I do on the pronunciation of our guest name, by the way? Did I butcher
You did
it?
a lot better pre-show. You got nervous. The last name you pulled the only thing that reminds me, I don't know if people are going to remember this reference.
I feel bad for him.
John Travolta at an award show couldn't say Adina Menzel or something like that. So he tried to sing it. And that's kind of what you did. You went Shehan Jeyarajah, like you had a little sing to it.
Did I do that?
Yeah, a little sing. You did a much better pre-show. Much better.
And then I just said, thank you for joining us on Sons Live.
No,
we'll see you again. No, good guess, but do we have him back? I don't know if I can. You got to do the intro. I'll take off that week.
Shehan Jeyarajah. I mean, I
I'd like
got to
to hear
figure it out.
Dolly.
I pride myself on being able to say the name that may be difficult. Shehan Jeyarajah. I'm with you. All day.
All right, I bungled that one. Want to thank him. Hazel, Andrew Jericho.
That one guy. He was good.
Yeah, off the top there. And all of you, go Knights in the Crown for Adam Eaton. I'm Trey Struckle. We'll see you out at UCF on Saturday at the Bounce House. If you see one of us or some of the Army, say hi. Go Knights.
Charge on.
Mackenzie Millen, quarterback coach, UCF. Thanks for watching Sons of UCF.
Can we have the compilation of every time he's done that in the various roles that he's
Only
been
time
in?
he's done with a point, though. He is with a point that time. I'm sorry, you can't see, but it was.
I haven't seen that one before. I remember the one I got at the golf tournament.
It's one of the new ones. Yeah, I think we have like
Yeah.
3.